Well, hello peeps! We are continuing the series on how to get your elite transmog by reaching 1800. This time we are going 0 to 1800 with the Fury Warrior. In the first part, the guide, I will be walking you through all the necessary steps and some unnecessary ones that you can do to accomplish this goal. Part 1, as usual, will be more of a guide and the things that you want to do before you even start the arena. Part 2 will be more how I feel about the Fury Warrior after climbing with it, the pros, the cons, certain gameplay tips that I picked up. Since my character is a little bit too ready, I can't really show certain steps, but I'll walk you through them. So first, you've dinged level 70 and it's time to hit the BGs and start you farming your honor gear. You can also buy the crafted combatant items. I definitely recommend getting the trinkets for the set bonus, since getting a full set is both expensive and unnecessary, as you will, be changing these items very shortly. If you're lucky to pick up a chest while leveling and have, body tokens, buy world PvP items that fit your stats. If you can stand epic BGs, then they do give you the most honor and can actually be easier on melee, since you can use machines and do such things where you don't have to directly fight. Do the weekly PvP quests. You want to do these for the first bit of conquest and trophy of strife to acquire high item level PvP gear. Depending on the week, this can be tricky. This at least you have Call of Battle, which is easy, but Call to Arenas is arenas. Use Conquest for main pieces and Trophy of Strife for off pieces, since you will be turning your main slot pieces into the tier set items, and those have predetermined stat weights, so it doesn't really matter. You only really care for the item level there. When it comes to stat weights, it's Versa, Haste, mainly with Crit and Mastery being kind of even. It's generally accepted that Mastery is a little bit better, but as long as you are hard statted into Haste, you will be fine. In my example, since I played arms first, I actually had a lot of crit, with also my gladiator weapon being in crit. This is not preferred, but it still worked, since I was still mainly statted into haste. This segues us into what I think is necessary and unnecessary as far as crafted items are considered. The one thing that actually changed and that I think is necessary now is the helm. I used to overlook it, the fact that the Dragon Roar increases the damage of it, and underestimated its damage a bit. The main thing is the price. At this point on my server, getting a crafted order for either the boots or the helm will cost you as much as a premium weapon enchant. And boots are just best in slot as usual, especially since Fury doesn't have Bladestorm. Enchants. Last time I forgot to go over which ones I exactly use. Here's what I use. Keep in mind that Leech or on back and on wrist is a personal preference, as well as that your finger enchants depend really on your stats. I have Versa since that's what I used for arms. For offhand, I'm not 100% sure. You can double up on the Sophic Devotion, or you can choose another proc. I went for Versa. It's just universal in its effects, giving damage and survivability. It's also, I think, what I already had enchanted on that weapon. Elemental Lariat is unnecessary, but really good if you have it, since Fury has more stats, more HP, there would be no drawback to using it. I should say that the only thing you really need to start the shuffle is the honor gear, enchants, and of course, if you have the Primal Chaos, the PvP crafted helm and boots. Tier set will come as you climb and acquire conquest, and is not as important on Fury anyways. As far as builds are considered, there is one that you will mainly see that I have used. There's also another one using Onslaught, but I never personally used it and maybe saw one Fury Warrior ever use it in Soul Shuffle, so I won't be covering it here. I might make a follow-up video about it for the build, but I have to test it someday. So to give a little overview of the talents and the stuff that I think are really important, the real big choice in your playstyle would be Dancing Blades or Titanic Rage. I just think Titanic Rage is overall easier to use and makes easier to do more damage with it, because Dancing Blades kinda needs you to stay in, be in that range and auto attack, and if somebody's kiting you and stuff, it can get countered basically. Annihilator replaces your Raging Blow, makes it your auto attacks. You're basically just clicking Bloodthirst, especially once you get going. Reckless Abandon changes your Bloodthirst into Bloodbath. Just makes it have no cooldown. It's pretty much why your rotation becomes so simple after you get going. Gushing Cold Steel Hot Blood or Gushing Wound is just a damage over time that happens when you crit with Bloodthirst. It's just another part of your, I would say, overall build. An important choice node, or really the only real choice node that I use personally, is Improved Whirlwind, and then I will take it out if I'm playing versus double ranged or something like that. I will take it out and put it into Vicious Contempt or something like that, but most of the time I just leave it at Improved Whirlwind, because this is the only way you can get some significant cleave with Fury. Otherwise you have basically no cleave other than your main cooldowns. As far as the warrior side is considered, you have one choice node up here. You can put this into Shattering Throw, Wrecking Throw if you need it. You can put it into more damage if you don't want the speed. You put it into more survivability. You have to put it in above this row basically, I think. Or you actually, no, you have one basically that you can't move around, and then you have one that you have to put up here. You can put it into Bitter Immunity. I just don't like it. I think it's really like if you can't survive a match, you can try to use it, but is it really gonna help you survive? I doubt it. The thing that did change for me, I used to not go down here and go for endurance training, but I think especially at this point with the stamina changes on the trinket, it's just mega value for Fury. You basically have the same HP as a Death Knight at this point. Not the same, of course, Death Knight has more, but still, like, it's... Big part of your survivability is your HP and just your HP effects. As far as the PvP talents are considered, I use Battle Trance and Slaughterhouse almost always. Slaughterhouse is mandatory, Battle Trance I would say is not mandatory, but it's just better than the other choices in my opinion. Disarm is just baseline for me. If there's nothing to disarm, I would change it usually for Master and Commander. Blood Rage is something that Arms does not have, and something that you should be definitely using, and every time you're facing Elemental Shamans, Hunters, etc., you should be using this, especially if you're not a gnome like me. Warbringer is also like another choice you can use. It's good to do some more damage, but overall I just think Blood Rage is a better choice. And Enduring Rage, I feel like it used to be good in previous expansions, but at this point you have so much Enrage uptime and stuff. I never feel like I need more Enrage uptime. Now we come to the most important part, and that's training yourself for PvP. The basic being your sustain and burst rotations. The reason I think this is the most important part is because you want your damage to just come out while you can focus on the game itself. You will confirm your level of training by going into BGs and trying to pull off what you have practiced. If you're having trouble with this, you know it's time to hit the dummy. With Fury, the base rotation is simple as simple can be, once you get it going. Priority would be something like Rampage, Execute, Bloodthirst, other Rage builders. In reality, this ends up being Bloodthirst into Rampage, basically. It's quite fluid once you get used to it, as you Rampage into builders of which you really use only two. Not much to say there, Fury is on the easy side of rotations. The Burst rotation is also nothing too difficult to pull off, especially since it needs like no prep time. Just use Avatar and Recklessness in the same time, followed by a Dragon's Roar into a Rampage, into Odin's Fury, into a Rampage. If you're using Dancing Blades, it would be basically the same, just that you want to Rampage first to get the Enraged effect. That is it for the damage part of the Fury. Definitely a spec that lets you focus on the match and does not bother you with like difficult rotations or difficult buffs that you have to keep up, you know, manage and stuff like that. Now for some tips and tricks while we view some Soul Shuffle gameplay. So first, let's discuss some defensive techniques. As Fury, your general survivability comes from your healing effects, Impeding Victory, Bloodthirst, Battle Trance. Of course, these are stronger in the beginning of the match and start to lose their effectiveness as dampening increases. You can really feel this on Fury. You can feel like a sharp drop that you can't really feel on Arms because you have a shield and it doesn't really show up on your health bar if you're using kind of the system that I use, but you can really feel on Fury a sharp drop as the game is going. By that 1 minute mark, your heals are not as effective, your personal heals. Another part, of course, to your general defense is the fact that you have two two-handed weapons, giving you extra stats. I think that's just baseline. As with Arms, your only magic damage defense comes from Spell Reflect. It's a great ability, but the only thing that you have to counter casters, how would I say. So you still want to try and pillar and use your mobility to kite the most aggressive cooldowns. You'll not see me doing this here, especially since this is kind of a lower lobby and I'm just getting to kind of, yeah, sit on people, and I'm in general not getting really focused to this match. I think one round I get focused. And Rage Regeneration is overall a better general defensive than Die by the Sword, but is more easily countered by dampening, how would I say. Not just dampening, but in general is more easier to counter. It depends on healing, which can also be countered by Mortal Strike effects, and it also can be countered by Disarm, which is something that Arms doesn't really have to worry about because of immunity. Arms can get pre-disarmed though, It's kind of different though, but Fury kind of suffers from this being able to kind of get disarmed on his cooldown, and then you can really use the full of the cooldown. I just think overall it's a little bit... it can offer you a little bit more survivability if you're able to heal up. Of course, using your CC to, you know, counter burst ghosts, counter stuff like that, disarming a warrior that just used Warbreaker, stuff like that, and he's about to use, you know, use the avatar and stuff like that to burst. So using your CC to counter burst is also great, of course, not just simply using your defensives. And bringing all those things together with intervene and rallying cry to, you know, try and save your teammate. Part 2 will be more of the pros and cons and how I feel about Fury, you know, after playing it, and how I would directly compare Fury to Arms after climbing with Arms. And I will be doing the Hunter specs after a week or two. I'm just taking a little break from the 0 to 1800 series for now. As far as like the offensive techniques, there's not much to say. Just pop your cooldowns really with Fury, just go and burst. And then hope that by the second cooldowns, the match is still not, you know, if you didn't win by the second cooldowns, you're basically gonna win. This was 100% true before the buffs, like for me at least. Like every time I got to the second cooldowns, I won, and I would say like a lot of the games that I didn't get to the second cooldown, if I didn't get a lot of pressure early, it's kind of hard to start building up pressure with Fury if you got kited and stuff like that. Sorry, I had to take a little drink. So overall, it's not much. I think now you have more pressure right after the buffs, but it's still you don't have like a Colossus Smash or something like that that can just make you do a lot of damage on a 30-second cooldown. You're always gonna be waiting for your bigger CDs. Just like here, right? As soon as my second cooldowns come, and this match is pretty much over. It's just, yeah, after the second cooldowns come, like, it's just, the whole team is just basically taken apart. They survive for like a little bit longer, but oh my god, I'm getting a little bit confused here for who I want to kill. Could have used Intervene instead of Heroic Leap. At this point, we're just gonna commentate on the match. This Fury is kind of a simple spec. It's really more about, I'd say, the micro things, the general micro things, not like the class has like something so difficult to pull off. The class can feel like a little bit, at least for me after playing Arms, it can feel a little bit too aggressive on the clicking. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my god, rotation, even though it's 2 buttons, it's just like you get into a trance, your hands are just spamming, and you have to kind of, yeah, think about the rotation at least a little bit. Just gonna go for the Warlock here. I think we could also go DH, but if you let Destro free cast, it can be dangerous. Here I kind of was saving my cooldowns way too long. I kind of feel like I forced the Emerald Communion from my healer, which was not good. Here I root him. I should have also slowed that Shaman, and I did actually a pretty good move, and that ends up being because we get to do some nice pressure on the Warlock here. I think we're gonna get him here. Yep. Here probably again just both can die, right? But it really depends who doesn't have cooldowns. If I remember correctly, in this match I'm kind of swapping targets a little bit too much. I'm not like too focused, but it ends up working out anyways because it's, yeah, we have a better, I would say, comp. We got more pressure. This actually made me cringe, like watching that Demon Hunter right now, just hunting like that. You don't ever do that, please. That is criminal. A criminal waste. That's a criminal waste of such a beautiful cooldown. Here I swap because of Blur, of course. We also end up getting his trinket easily. Going back now on the DH because no cooldowns. I mean, he has darkness, but no Blur anymore. the main defensive. Don't fight the DH in darkness, like even if he's like low HP, still like, unless you have like 100% heal, like 10% HP, but if he's like 50% HP and you are full HP, it's, you know, I would still say most of the time it's gonna be a net positive for the DH. Sorry? Yeah, here I'm just gonna... Oof, I get a full Audience Fury on all three. It's gonna do some extra pressure. I'm getting a little bit CC'd here. I don't know why I'm swapping targets. I guess I don't want to attack somebody who's not in Warlock's range. That's good actually. Pop the turns from the Hunter. He had no trinket, so he had to kind of sit all those 5 seconds of CC and just tank us. He has Blur of course back, but it's not gonna be an issue. I'm getting my cooldowns back here and we're just probably gonna win here. Yeah, after you get your second cooldowns, it's just... Yeah, you see the bleeds just ticking off. It's, yeah, after you get your second cooldowns, it's pretty much... I think I have like a 98% win rate after getting my second cooldown, something like that. Like, I've lost matches, but it's only like... You get your second cooldowns and then it's like 3 seconds after that the game finishes, because... you kinda needed at least, you know, a few seconds for the bleed damage to start, you know, kinda kicking in and stuff like that, to start having your damage. Your Hunter is gonna make a huge mistake already, remember this. Like, don't ever do this. Like, he just goes behind the pillar for me, for some reason on me. I end up just blowing up all my cooldowns on him. He ends up blowing the turns for it. This ends up being, of course, for us, an amazing trade. I used, like, just my offensive cooldowns, of course, but, like, I didn't use anything else. In return for it. Here, I don't know, I feel like we should switch on the Hunter. Hunter has no deterrence, but I guess I'm just going on the Warlock because I don't want him to free cast, but definitely the better target is the Hunter, since no survivability anymore at this point. Drink a little bit of water. Yeah, I don't know. This would be a mistake here, just because like the Hunter already used his cooldowns. Swapping now on the Hunter. And of course doing really good, because he has no cooldowns. Probably gonna get him here. I just trinketed a root. I just trinketed a root. Okay, we got him. You should have just swapped on a Hunter way earlier. Don't... even if one target is overall better, if you've used the cooldowns of the other target, that target pretty much at that point becomes better, right? So... Here we are on the final match. It's gonna just be a Warlock priority. I'm gonna get a huge cleave here on both DH and Warlock. Ends up putting them in some low HP. Nice, I didn't sit in darkness, very smart. Fear the Warlock for some reason. Just hitting, always make sure you're just hitting, make sure you're always doing damage, right? So if you're getting kited, at least hit the closest thing to you. So that's like one thing that I see sometimes people are just like ignoring the person who's like on them for some reason, instead of just like hitting the person who is on them and then, you know, dragging them to their preferred target. Here the Warlock is spam fearing me in panic. Man, I hated this teleport freedom thing. It's actually so busted. I don't know. I really think it's busted. Tell me your opinion as a melee, if you're a melee player. How do you feel about this freedom on the Warlock's teleport? Yeah, just sitting the Warlock. I think he's gonna die here after I get my second cooldowns. Just remember that, second cooldowns win. Now with the changes, with how you say, you don't really need always the second cooldowns, you do more pressure, so it's really all about uptime, but it's still gonna be your biggest win con, your second cooldowns. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things the YouTuber wants you to do, and have a nice day.